Are we do it?
Yes. Thank you. I was still fumbling around, but I saw your request. That made it work.
Hi, Alina.
Hi, Jocelyn.
Oh
Ooh,
my,
it is great to see you.
good to see you.
So we're seeing people joining. If you're joining, drop a heart or something. Um, we can, how about drop in the chat one thing you've done this week for yourself? Like, today, oh, actually, today I was feeling a little sluggish midday, but I already had my coffee. So I did a 5 minute stretch just to like get the blood flowing, and I felt better after that.
Well, I would say I went and had some um, afternoon drinks with a friend. So that was really nice and good conversation.
Oh, nice. Oh my God. And you were actually in person with them out at like a place?
Yes, outdoors, like as things are opening. It was just nice to have conversation in 3D form.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah, it's just it was just very like soul filling, and yeah.
That sounds amazing. Thanks for joining, people. If you want, you can drop in the chat in the comments like something you've done this week for yourself. Could be something little, something big, whatever you want to share. As we let people trickle in, and I'm here with Jocelyn. Can you tell me how you pronounce your last name, please?
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's Young. So like I'm a teacher, so I say like ow as in like hurt myself and young as in the opposite of
Young. Okay, Jocelyn Young. And Percy is saying she got her favorite meal today. Yes. Oh my God, food. Food is like so good for the body, mind, soul, everything. So that makes me happy that you got to do that.
now I'm curious what your favorite meal is.
Me too. If you want to share.
Yeah.
Oh, good vibes today.
Yes.
Um, cool. So, as people trickle in, I want to give some acknowledgements. Like first, um, Together Thriving WOC. Um, I'm gonna put them. Oh, who said Taylor went for a walk by herself? Yes. Oh my God, getting some outside time.
Yes.
Um, that is huge. Okay, I'm gonna drop some people in the chat. I can't see what I'm writing though. That's not it.
Let's
Oops, I have to spell this correctly. Together, Thriving
see. Hmm.
WOC. So they put together this beautiful summit, wellness summit last year
Hmm.
for wellness, women of color wellness practitioners. And this is where I actually met Jocelyn. She came to my journaling workshop.
Yes.
So I just want to like thank them for making that possible. Um, yeah, that was a really great experience.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
know, for those joining, like you can follow them to learn about their next summit.
Yeah. Definitely. That was an awesome summit. And I'm just going to say the journaling, if you haven't gone to any of Alina's journaling retreats, like I experienced that through the Together Thriving, and it was just a very like life-giving, like centered space, because it's hard for us to like carve that. Sometimes it's hard for us to carve our space, but to have that space carved for you and just use joy, and it's an amazing space to be in. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that, Jocelyn. Yes. Oh my God. Yes, me too. Both of them. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, Jocelyn. We can like kind of dive in now. First, I would love for you to introduce yourself in a way that is natural to you. Maybe like what identities matter to you, however you want to put it.
Yes, I'm Jocelyn Auyeung, and I identify as, I used to say Asian American. I do say Asian American, but specifically Chinese American. And I go back and forth whether I'm first generation or second generation. I was born here in the United States. My parents immigrated over here. My pronouns are she and her, and I am identified as a woman. So, and what I do is I am a mom, I'm a wife, I have two little girls, 8.5 and 7. I am a teacher by day, and I'm also an empowerment coach for educators. So that's what I also do on the side as well.
Shout out for educators and teachers. Send a heart, drop a heart, or whatever. Yes, show some love. Thank you, Jocelyn. And I really enjoy following you on Instagram, like kind of just following your journey and like the nuggets that you share, like put out into the world. Um, what inspired you to like go into teaching and then to also become an empowerment coach for educators?
Yeah, so teaching, that's been a journey to really understand why I entered into teaching. Is I was really seeking something that was life-giving to do. Like teaching is actually my second career. So my first career, I was going after the money, the money, and that was not life fulfilling. And so teaching, after being a teacher for so many years, I realized like what I was wanting to do as a teacher was give students what I wanted as a child. So affirming students and inspiring to just be their best selves and to, be who they are and just be able to have a voice and see their own worth and see their potential. And being a teacher is like, I was doing that. I went into teaching because that's what I sought for myself. Like I wanted that for myself as a kid that maybe I didn't receive. That's part of my healing and the journaling. That's what's come through the journaling. Um, and teaching is just, it's a creative space. Like you get to create, you create your lessons, you get to create the energy, and it's just fun. Like you have your every day is a little bit different. You can have stories that you can laugh. But it's also a really like hard profession as well, as we all know. This past year was really hard. um, and becoming an empowerment coach for educators, being in teaching for over a decade now, it's like I tend to do things where I wanted that. Like I needed a coach. And not just like we have instructional coaching, but a coach to like help me with my personal life so that I can do my best work in the classroom. And so, and also like as a teacher, sometimes I felt like I'm going to say as a woman of color, I found it hard to have a voice. And so, how do I advocate for myself? How do I feel empowered to advocate for myself? And that's been quite a journey for myself as well. And so, that's why I added on this other piece, passion of coaching for educators. Like, how do we, harness and cultivate your empowerment? I'm not going to empower you. You already have that within you to advocate for yourself so that you can thrive and do your best work in the profession that you are passionate about and love.
Yeah, it's so beautiful how like you are creating the things that you like you personally have experienced like as a kid first, like what you needed from your teachers and now like as a teacher what you need and to then like I mean just say like you know what like I have the tools, I have the skills, I have the experience, like I am going to create this like that's like one entrepreneur to another, that's really inspiring.
Yeah, yeah.
So like on that about like advocating for yourself, what are some things you have learned in your journey on like because some it is can be hard to advocate for yourself, especially when we feel like we have so many obligations, right? We're taking care of others, we have like things put on our to-do list, our plate. We want to like, show up for so many people. What has worked for you in finding that voice?
Yeah, I think it's so for me, I'm so easy just to go into do mode. It's like the hustle grind mode. And so I really had to learn how to like just pause and kind of go I'm thinking about a conversation I had earlier today, go inward and really pause and go inward and really just sit with my thoughts. And this is where your journaling comes in really handy because it takes what we ruminate a lot in here and out of ourselves. Because I tend to like ruminate a lot and I spin, I get into this like tornado and rabbit hole. And then there's just it's hard to get out of that. So like sitting with myself and journaling has helped me understand who I am so that I know what it feels like to advocate for myself, what it feels like to be empowered, and what it feels like to embody that, like really embody that. And that's still the journey. It's like I always say, it's not a checkbox. It's still a journey. Like a friend
Yes.
earlier this morning, she's like, well, your empowered self is different from your empowered self, like even a year ago. And I was like, yes, that is so true, because it's a healing journey too. So that would be the number one thing for me, is carving that intentional space to go inward and to do the work and get it out of me and onto something that's physical, because it's so amazing and inspiring, and also like um, to just go back and reread where you've been and the journey
Mm,
that you've been, right? So
yeah. Wow. Okay. I want to there were like a few things you said I want to kind of follow up on. First, like, I'm a very visual person and I love a good like analogy or metaphor.
yeah.
And I just love like what you said about the tornado, kind of just like that spiral that I definitely find myself getting caught up in. For those who are tuned in, joining Hannibal Freeman, I feel like I don't know if you have your own kind of image or analogy of what that feels like for you, right? Where we're in that mode of like always doing, but like skipping over how we're feeling inside. Um, and it's helpful because like when we kind of put a name to it, it's easier to catch ourselves in the moment. Um,
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, I'm in that spiral, or I'm in the tornado. Let me pause and check in. Um, yeah, and so you've like talked about kind of being in that space and how the journaling helps. You have your own customized Zenit journal. I'd love if you want to like share how you customize it, maybe like what intentions you had, or was it just like a open journey? Like your affirmations, your mantra, like prompts that you chose that you liked.
Yeah, so I have two, but I this is the first one I purchased, and the one thing that I did was, I'm a visual learner too, so so like on the first page, which I love, right, you can put in whatever you want, and for me it was my intentions for this year. So it was, you are worthy and enough, trust, show up authentically, and surrender. And then um,
Can you, I don't know
oh,
if it was my connection or yours, but can you just read the intentions or what you had there one more time? Uh-oh.
yeah. I my intentions were, you are worthy and enough, trust, show up authentically, and surrender.
Hmm. What does that mean when you say surrender? I was like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, surrender. I want to ask about that.
Yeah, yeah. So that is, oh, I've been coming back to that word all year long. I mean, we're halfway through the year. Oh my gosh. So surrendering is like, it's a reminder for me, because I am a person that wants to have control all the time. Like I need to have control, because I think that helps me with my anxious thoughts or my anxiety of things, because I can have control. But ultimately, like life, like you really can't control life, right? Like there so surrendering is like doing the best I can, and then letting like releasing my hands. Like I'm visual learning, like I'm holding on really tight. And I'm going to say this, like as a teacher this year, like there were so many things I really wanted to control, but there were so many things that I couldn't control, right? Especially teaching in a pandemic. And so there were things that I'm like, okay, I can have control over my mindset, or like, maybe the lessons I have, but I don't have control. Like I just need to surrender and open my hands to how my students receive things, or like how, um, even as a business owner, how my business goes, right? Like, so it's reminding myself to open my hands and to receive whatever the universe or energy, and open myself up to
Mm.
what is trying to give me so that I can receive. Because if I'm always like this, then I can't receive energetically what's wanting to come to me. Like this whole mindset of like abundance, right? So that's what surrender for me is, like opening my hands and letting it be.
Thank you. Oh my God, that's so powerful. Just when you said it now, like if our hands are like this, yes, we might think we have control, but we can't actually receive anything. Like that really struck me. I'm gonna remember that. It makes it like
Okay, yeah.
something that like I've been journaling about too is like how I catch myself in these moments where I keep planning my next like 6 steps ahead. And it is this like need for that sense of control. I keep planning, but it like I can feel it tiring out my brain. And so I've been just thinking like when that happens, I need to just pause and like you said, let go and remind myself like I don't need to plan everything in advance because when that moment arrives, I'll know what to do. And if I don't, like I'll find a way or I'll get support, you know. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a constant reminder.
it's
Um,
right.
yeah. So thank you for that. And then like what about some of the prompts that you were drawn to and how they have like worked for you?
Yeah, so I think I remember when after I went through at the Together Thriving Summit and then went to your session, I was like, oh, I need this in my life. And I was in the space of finding finding my voice, like, and reminding myself of my worth, because I had just done a lot of coaching with my life coach at that time of, of embracing my worthiness, because I had spent all my life seeking my worthiness outside of me when all along it was within. And I had just come to that point after I went to your session that I had embraced my own worthiness. And so the prompts that I chose was really centered around that theme of like honoring myself, my values, my wisdom, my voice, the celebration one, the prompt, I really like that. What are my little wins and big wins? Because that is like affirming, the journey and my worth. Um, and like the prompts, like uh, today it was the what do I feel like I should and what is my heart wanting.
Mm.
That I think the yeah, it was. I'm opening. I feel pressure that I should, but in my heart, I truly care about. Right. And that really comes back to like my inner wisdom, right? Because there's all these voices. For me, I like, there's all these voices out there, and I'm constantly coming back to that pause and going inward and discerning what is true and good for me. Um, and that comes back to like, you know I am already worthy. I have a voice. I have my own wisdom. And how can I center back into that? And so those are like the prompts really align with that kind of a theme.
Oh, so inspiring. I don't know if you noticed, but like I was like, I need to write this down when you said all along it was within me, talking about yourself, like your self-worth, trying to find it all along it was within me. Um, I have found a lot of my journaling to also like kind of center around like coming back to that. Like my prompts, one of my prompts, like, what do I want in my heart? What's my wisest self saying, right? So getting back to that, just like check inside and trust. And I've noticed that you have like you've put out a lot of kind of advice on your Instagram and in your work on like your inner wisdom. Um, so any like advice for folks who are watching now who will watch the video, like how to build that connection with our inner wisdom and to actually like listen to it when we have all these voices going on.
Yeah, it's so right now I'm learning a lot about somatics, right? And how that ties into listening to your inner wisdom and what does that feel like. And so it's actually like inner wisdom, people can call that your intuitive self, your intuition, your gut. And so um it's one of those like, well, first, what is your body like? How do you feel that in your body? Like when you get that gut feeling, I'm gonna say gut feeling or intuition or intuitive feeling, like where does that reside? And that's like, that's your signpost. Like you can always come back to that. And that for me, it's like right here. It's like my center heart, chest right here. I get this like fluttering, like, and almost like shallow breath, like, oh my gosh, like I can name those moments in my life when I felt that. I didn't know that was my inner.
Wow.
I didn't
Wow.
until literally the last couple of years of doing a lot of therapy and coaching, that's like, that's my inner wisdom. And so now when I feel that, I'm like, oh, I need to listen to that, and having that awareness. So it's, I guess one thing I always, share with my clients is like, when you get that gut feeling, where do you get that? Like, where do you feel that? And
Hmm.
then using that as, because your body speaks to you, like your
Yeah, it
body
does.
really speaks to you. So it's just, that's one thing that I have been learning as well, and really trying to tune into that, and
Hmm.
really listening to your body, and then just listening to your voice. It's almost like having a dialogue with yourself. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it really is, right? Like yeah, it's, paying attention to that. And some people will say, well, how do I know that's my inner wisdom versus my inner critic? And so
Mm.
that's,
Oh, yes.
right, that's
Right.
I because, yeah, how do I know it's my inner wisdom versus my inner critic? And so I'm just gonna say I had to get help to help me decipher that. Like
Hmm.
I actually had to have people like my own therapist and coach to help me understand that. So, um, that's just a plug for reaching out for support around that.
100%. Like like I'm a huge fan, like of course, proponent of journaling, also proponent of getting support, whether it is like a trusted mentor, advisor, therapist, coach, whatever it might be, because like being able to also like talk through something with someone and then you can also like build on that and process it in your journal as well. Um, yeah, that's a powerful question. And like I have this prompt about what does my wisest self say? That's like I think two of our prompts in our menu prompts refer to your wisest self. I find that so grounding to be able to try to like, okay, yeah, like quiet the other voices, the inner critic, the inner all the other voices, and let that wisest voice speak through my writing. Um, it's not always easy, right? Sometimes like so yeah, having that outside help helps. Um, Hey, I see more people are joined. I'm like for those of you listening, like I'm curious, like if you know where your body speaks to you when you have that positive gut feeling. Listening to Jocelyn, like I realized I'm very aware of when my body's speaking to me when I'm stressed, like when I'm in fear or overwhelmed or tired. But now I'm like, how does my body speak to me when I'm actually having a positive moment? When I'm like, when I have that gut feeling, like you said, when my inner wisdom is actually speaking to me, where does it show up in my body? So I'm just gonna like marinate on that and like, you know, journal about that a bit too. That'll be a good thing to explore.
Yeah. Well, I love that the prompts in the journal. And it's interesting when you said like as you're writing, right? Like it's I've had moments where I start writing and then I pause in the middle as I'm journaling because I was like, oh, that was my inner critic. That just wanted to come out. And I'm like, and then I start again. And then it's so interesting. And this is just my experience. Like, and then the words, when I go back and reread it, like it's like a whole like conversation in my writing in one entry of how the tone shifts within my writing. So
Yeah.
that's been just interesting notice um as I'm journaling using these prompts.
Yeah, I was journaling today and about like some things I want to do for my future, but I haven't had the time to do it. But then there was this moment where I was like, and I think it was my wisest self, like, wait, is it really that you don't have the time? Or is something else going on? I was like, oh, you asked that question. Okay, let me now like explore that question. Because it is easy to say I don't have time. But often there is something deeper. Last question, because you mentioned that you go back and reread your entries, which I honestly like. I rarely do. I rarely do.
Oh,
So I'm curious, like what that looks like for you and how that's part of your journaling and wellness practice.
yeah. So I I like to, well, it's not always say I like to. I'm curious. I'm always curious about like the journey that I've been on, and it's also to um, see like what has manifested, right? Like sometimes I write about like my hopes and dreams. What does my wisest self want to say? What does my future self? Um, and it's interesting to always go back and see where I've been and where I'm now, but also to see like the themes. Like, what are some of the themes that kind of are throughout that I keep writing about? Because then that for me, I'm like, oh, I keep writing about like wanting to speak up or wanting to use my voice. I keep talking about like some resistance. I'm like, why do I keep talking about this? Or like right now, I keep talking about freedom. Like, I want freedom. And so today I was, what is it about freedom that I'm wanting? Like, how do I define that? And then it's like, do I already have freedom? Like, what does that mean for me? But that's been like a reoccurring thing in the last like month of journaling in all the prompts for some reason. So
Yeah.
it's just interesting to see kind of reoccurring themes of what's like what I've been unconsciously, because when I write, I just write. Like I try to give myself that, permission, just free flow write based on the prompt. Um, so that's why I go back and read it. And to also celebrate, like, oh wow, look, I've grown, right? Like, or like, oh
Yeah,
wow, look at where I am right now. It's also a way to celebrate. Yeah.
that's true. It's so powerful to acknowledge the growth that we take like every moment, every day. You have we just have like a minute left, but like you have our BIPOC journal for healing and liberation as well, which I just love. I'm curious how you integrate that as well into your journey.
Oh my goodness. Okay. This is a really powerful journal. I'm so like grateful that you collaborated with the others to just have this as a resource and a tool on like my own journey. It's it it's brought up a lot. Like I really, the first part, I even was like, let's start from the beginning. And as I started from the beginning, I was like, oh, there was like the honoring my pain. That's I had to put it down and sit with everything that came out from that. And I'm still in that space of like sitting with things that I was that have come out through journaling in this way, and it has been healing, but it has been hard. But it's nice to have like the tools to help me walk through it. And I love how you have all these quotes within and just the self-care pages, because it's like
Mhm.
I got to that point where I was feeling like, oh, this is so heavy, and then I got to the self-care page and I was like, that it's what I needed. Like I needed just to like I that's the only way I can to find it. Like um so, and it's also something like with all the sources and like like all the concepts, like it's also helping me learn as well, because there are some things that I didn't I didn't grow up in a family that talked about, right? We didn't talk about
Yeah.
that in our, so this is like a lot of things that are new, and I'm learning and I'm unlearning and relearning. It's
Mhm.
really hard, good, and healing journey. That's what
Yeah.
I would say.
Thank you for that. For those like who are listening, like we have a BIPOC journal for healing and liberation, which was created in collaboration with Tracy Rogers and Kimberly Diaz and Andrew Dobb, co-founders of One's Health. So and their info is in the journal and on my website. But yeah, it has like different sections for processing racial healing with prompts like I'll try to be quick at this, but like like I experienced racism or racial trauma when, how has this impacted my life? It also has like, it has different sections. So it also has sections for deepening our connection with our ancestors, for affirming your self-worth, and then also for practicing anti-racism. So I've jumped around in the different sections, but I felt like I actually, it took me a while to get started because it is so heavy, but I have definitely needed the space to process. Like when I've been harmed, and also to process when I'm struggling with something like, that has to do with my own privilege, my own biases. I'm like kind of grappling with like that process of letting go of kind of ingrained beliefs and then adopting new beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like really like grateful to hear that it is has been valuable for you, Jocelyn, like that. And I'm gonna share that with the collaborators as well. um, so
I know
like as
this, yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying like this is definitely like it's gonna take me a while to get through this. Like
Yeah.
the yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, Jocelyn, this was I so enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for taking the time. How can folks follow you? Keep it like educators listening. How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Embracing Our Life Journey, so you can find me there, and you can click the link in my profile, and you can sign up for my newsletter if you want to become a subscriber, and you'll get like the 5 tools to thrive through teacher overwhelm as a freebie for becoming a subscriber, and you can just find me on Instagram. I do have like a group coaching program that's starting in August called Teachers Together Team, and it's called Embodying Our Empowerment and Confidence. So that's that's where you can find me on Instagram.
All right. Thank you, Jocelyn. So I'll be in touch. Like, hope to continue having conversations, but like, thank you so much for coming, showing up, providing your wisdom, your deep wisdom, your just energy. Um, yeah, and have a good rest of your night.
Thank you for having me, Nina. Have a great night too.
All right. Bye, everyone. Peace. Thanks for joining.
Bye.